Hello, everybody. This is Nannette Kennedy with Humanities Team and Evolution Revolution. And we are reading The Only Thing That Matters by Neale Walsch. And today is November 7th, 2021. And we are going to read chapter 36 today. But I wanted to ask Linda a question because how close are we nearing the end of this book?
We're 75% done.
Okay, and I know we talked about this before, but do you remember what we said the next book was?
Let me go look. I'm sure I will when I see the list.
Because I want to announce that in the next couple of weeks that we're going to be starting a new book, because I think some people feel lost when they come in and it's the middle of the book. Or
I got it. It's What God Said.
Oh, that's right. Okay. What God Said. All right. Well, Linda, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I was trying to find, for some reason, I can't get my note to come up. So What God Said
Yes.
is next, okay.
The 25 core messages of conversation
Right.
with God that will change your life and the world. I'm ready.
Right.
Oh, wait, Aunt
We all
Derby's
are.
here. Let me let her in.
Yes, let her in.
There she is. Hi, Anne. It's nice to see you here. We're just getting started. And we're on chapter
Hi,
30.
Nannette. Hi, everybody.
Hello. We're just getting started. Chapter 36.
Okay, so before we start with chapter 36, we were going to discuss chapter 35. And just to remind you, chapter 35, it was on mental emptiness. The mind of all human beings is reset to 0 at the moment. All previous data is deleted. So while on your old health, your mind.
I think you're breaking up.
Weird. Switch to that.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me read that again then.
Thank you.
The very beginning of chapter 35 starts, it's about mental emptiness. And in a minute, it'll be even a little clearer why I wanted to go back and touch on the beginning of this chapter. So the paragraph reads, the mind of all human beings is reset to 0 at the moment of birth. All previous data is deleted. And so while on your first day of life, your soul held an awareness of all, your mind held nothing at all. This is not by accident. So what I wanted to share, some of you, maybe all of you have already heard this, but for those who may not have heard it, this isn't entirely true. And I can say that from my own personal experience, because I remember coming here. I remember conversations about coming here. And I remember pretty much my entire gestation in my mother. I remember my day of birth. So I remember a lot. So I don't believe I'm the only, in fact, I know I'm not the only exception to this chapter. I can't agree with this chapter in many ways, for myself because of my own personal experience, but it does appear to be true for most people. Most people don't have any memories of anything prior to this life, or at least not vivid memories that they can identify. So that was the piece of it that I wanted to touch on. I don't know if there was other stuff other people wanted to talk about in this chapter.
Well, I want to ask you something. I don't remember being in the womb, the womb, not the room. And I don't remember my birth. And I was 2 years old when I had a near-death experience, but I don't remember that either. So I'm not sure, but I will say that I have this really uncanny draw to anything from the Renaissance period. Art, clothing, the castles, I don't think fondly of sewage. But and then when I got into college and I've read every play Shakespeare's ever written. I could so relate to what was going on in each of those plays. And I think I may have told you this before, Linda. I do remember a past life experience where my mother was of royalty, and she had me not with her husband. And I saw her one day in the church, and I knew it was her. And I approached her, and she knew it was me. I was probably like 10 years old at best. And I remember her letting me know she couldn't speak with me. But that's all I remember. But I remember that her clothing, she was kneeling on a kneeler. And I don't remember anybody else in the church. Over.
See, that's where, we hear people say, I've even said it, everything we think we see is an illusion. Because in a very real sense, we're all connected. Everything is connected. The past, the present, the future. We're all a part of this energetic field. And so, I hate to kind of go on record going up against somebody who's written, almost 40 books and is known around the world for the last 30 plus years as an authority. But I know, and I know other people that I actually know somebody else who remembers the other side, remembers coming here, remembers the discussions and all of that. So it's really, this 3D world that we live in is a very persistent thing. But ultimately, something much grander is going on here that isn't being explained. And it's being missed in this chapter because 99.99% of the people on the planet have the experience that Neale is describing. That is their experience. And so that makes it real for them. And all I want to offer up is that there's more to it. And it isn't really working that way. It just looks like it works that way.
So
What you're remembering is what most people would call a past life,
yes,
except that again, there is no such thing as past or future. There is only in this moment. And so all lives are happening at the same time. You know, you could work with some of those past regression people and you could discover other lifetimes that are as vivid as this one that you resonate with. You've had other lifetimes as well. They're not present to you, but if you were to work with some of those people that are experts in that, they could draw that out of you. You know, I've had 2 psychic healings that related to quote unquote past lives that healed me in this lifetime.
mm,
So, and you know, I don't know if we want to get into the time to share that, but this is how I know that it's all in the moment. It's all right here.
Would you call that a parallel universe?
Um,
Because I always feel like I traveled in a parallel universe before.
it's I wouldn't, you know, it's a spiral to me. It's really a spiral, like you're standing in the center and you can turn the dial in either direction. We're not very good about turning the dial into the future. I'm not really sure why it's so much easier to get in touch with lives that are what we think of behind us or in the
Because
past.
it's knowing. It's
Well,
all knowing.
we have the knowing. We could go forward as well, but for some reason we don't tend to. You know, it really does tend to be, but I look at it as being on a dial. Just turn the dial to where you want to go. So it's not so much parallel. It's
So it's not a
more,
time machine.
well, it's more, it's think of as a conch shell. That's more of the way life is working, is it's more circular and stacked than it is parallel and linear, if that makes any sense.
Yep, it does.
Does that make sense to you, Nannette?
yeah, it does make sense to me. And actually, the first time that I did go to a past life regression person, can't remember his name to save my own life, but this life anyway. And it's sort of like being hypnotized. But you're very aware that you're in a room laying down and there's a person sitting there and asking you questions. But the thing that was amazing to me is how crystal clear all the images were coming in that were from the Renaissance period. And it's a mystery to me, really. I mean, I believe that's, you know, I spent time in that era. But the mystery part is, and this woman looked just like my mother of this lifetime. And I always thought it was interesting because since I was very little, I always told my mom, and I'm sure she looked at me kind of goofy sometimes. I told her I'd choose her again. And I told her that up
Isn't that
until
what the brain does in that though? Because she's the only mother you've had. So that when you go into a past life, I think I've talked to a past life person that said that. They always say, I know my mother in another lifetime. You know, I know that I know her, but it's such a familiarity of it. One father, one mother. That's the only face you know. You know, that's the only face you know. So that kind of trips up some of them if it's not as vivid of a memory or whatever. So you're gonna think that's your mom, and it's gonna be like it's real. You know, And it probably is, but I mean, that's other than the fact that you may have met her in another lifetime. But yeah, I studied it a little while. It's very interesting, but very also individual. Like I've had the sessions and they were, it's all individualized, but uh, suppression, past life reviver said that she hears it almost from every client is that I knew my mother and, I knew my partner, I was supposed to be with him, I've met him in another thing. But it's very common to have the visions of seeing your mom or your parents or whatever. That's really cool.
It's interesting, and it's I'm going to use the word mysterious because for me it's a mystery. But I think, and I don't know if anybody else has this happen to them. It's sort of like when a dream you had the night before makes a flash appearance the next day, and it isn't there long enough to even grab it, but you'll just get this, and then it usually happens to me around the same time of day, almost every day. And I think that I agree with everything you said, Linda. I love Neale. I adore him, even though I didn't used to answer his phone calls all the time. There are some things I have some troubles with in the series. So I don't think you should all feel bad about that in any way.
Yeah, I've tried actually in a couple of different settings to share some of that with him, but he's not open to hearing it. So
Oh, really? He's not?
I've given it up.
I wouldn't guess that. Be open to that stuff.
Well, I think he's, we're all human. I think, you can't be an author of X number of books and have somebody challenging you and have that go over easy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to add to this?
I just want to throw in that my brother is like Linda in some ways, and he does remember being born. And like he came home from work one day and started binding books because he remembered doing it in a different lifetime. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting to me to have talked to him and now have Linda. And, people just thought my brother was crazy when he said he remembered being born. I didn't think he was crazy. I was like, oh, that's really interesting because he described it, being in this warm, cozy place and then being sort of squeezed out. And then there was all this light and bright noise and it was very disconcerting. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to say that, yes, Linda is very unique and there are a few others like her. And it's interesting. And personally, I appreciate the clean slate that I got, because I tend to think too much about stuff anyway. And if I was thinking about stuff from other lifetimes in addition, like all the things I did wrong. If y'all know that song Galileo by the Indigo Girls.
Indigo Girls. I saw them. They come to Vermont every year. I see them every year.
Like I can't be
thinking
about stuff I might have done wrong in other lives too. That's just too much. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
In another lifetime. I met them, Amy and Emily.
That's cool.
Portland, Maine. It was fun. I got their autographs and talked to them.
Very cool.
Anybody else? Or shall we read the next chapter?
Ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Chapter 36 of The Only Thing That Matters, Conversations with Humanity, Book 2. Sustaining the connection between mind and soul. The freedom of children to be authentic, pure, and joyful is what you will experience when you focus on your life, when you focus your life on the only thing that matters. Deep commitment to peer deeply into each moment to see how best and most completely you might express what one desires will move you quickly into an expanded consciousness from which all divinity arises. Such expanded consciousness is what eventuates when your mind and your soul co-join, for then experience meets awareness. The question is how to create such meetups. The first thing you have to do is eliminate any thought you may be holding that expanded consciousness is something reserved for the select few. Expanded consciousness is, in fact, very easy to experience, and everyone on the planet has done so. Yes, even children, perhaps especially little children. Your next experience of expanded consciousness may occur in any moment, as in a flash, intermittently during a short but intense period, regularly over months or years, continuously as an ongoing reality across the remainder of your lifetime. People in each category are sometimes said to have an epiphany and may then become seekers. People in the second category are sometimes said to have had an awakening, which might be called, or which might be described as sort of a sustained epiphany, and many then become students. People in the third category are sometimes said to have reached a high level of consciousness and then may become teachers or messengers. People in the fourth category are sometimes said to have reached enlightenment and may then be called saints or gurus or masters, although they themselves would gently resist such honorifics. As has been shared here now several times, all people have achieved completion in many moments on their sacred journey of the soul. The experience of continuing to live in that state is what they are after. And that is simply a matter of learning to open a pathway or a channel between the mind of the soul so that the mind can bring in the soul at will, producing the experience of expanded consciousness regularly over many months or years, and ultimately as a sustaining reality across the largest part of one's life. A soul knowing. Expanded consciousness is very easy to experience. The next tool, the final tool we will explore here, offers a way to sustain the experience of mind-soul oneness when the mind's experience combines with the soul's awareness to produce the experience of expanded consciousness. This experience does not have to look mysterious or mystical, by the way. The soul uniting with the mind can happen in quite ordinary ways at quite ordinary times. For instance, you could be having this experience right now as you are reading this book. All of the tools you have been given here so far are highly effective in connecting your mind and soul. Nothing will bring you the feeling in which the soul lives faster than gratitude. Nothing will open you to the depth of the soul's wisdom faster than recontextualization. Nothing will bring you more of the soul's infinite peace faster than compassion. And nothing will express the gift of the soul's true nature faster than forgiveness for wrong. But there is one magical device not yet mentioned that will allow you to sustain the experiences to which the other tools lead you. And this is our final recommended tool, meditation. If it seems predictable and almost spiritually trite to mention this here, it is only because this tool has for so long been such a proven method of accessing the awareness of the soul that everyone recommends it all the time. Its predictability speaks well for its efficacy. Not a lot of time is going to be spent here then endorsing or advocating for meditation. By now, you've heard about it from enough people. What you may want to know, though, is how to do it effectively, if you are not already. There is no one best way to meditate. There's not a single size fits all answer to how to do it best. Each person experiences the process differently. But there are some approaches to the use of this tool that you might find interesting to hear about. There's not a lot out there on the subject that can be found on a few pages for quick and easy reference. So we've included in the addendum here a different lift from a book mentioned in chapter 29, When Everything Changes, Change Everything. That spiritual guide contains description of 4 different approaches to meditation, and we felt the material offered insights that should be included in this document. It's part of the back batter, though, rather than the main text, so that if you've read the previous book, you won't have to move through the material again to complete your reading here. If you've not read the book, if you've not read the Changes book, and you have an interest in seeing if there's a way that meditation might work for you, or perhaps work better for you, you'll want to take a look at this addendum in the present book for sure. The reason that meditation is such an effective tool in moving you along your sacred journey is that it creates an environment within which a connection can be made between mind and soul. There are other ways to create such an environment as well, including, but certainly not limited to, prayer, visualization, guided imagery, ecstatic dance, vision questing, fasting, chanting, drumming, and simple quiet contemplation. A soul knowing. The mind was not designed to function alone. Prayer is probably the most widely taught method of connecting with divinity, which is, of course, what connecting with your soul is all about. Every religion on the planet teaches it. It can be a very wonderful way of establishing contact with God, but for many, the difference between prayer and meditation feels like the difference between calling room service to place an order and listening to a recording of gentle music on earphones. One is sending energy and one is receiving energy. Visualization definitely helps to move the mind from its current preoccupation to something more profoundly connected with one's desires. And if one's personal desires are identical to what one desires, they are at the deepest level, but they may not be at the surface level. This technique can be very useful as well. It does, however, exchange the mind more actively or engage the mind more actively than most forms of meditation. Other avenues to the soul, such as guided imagery and ecstatic dance, can absolutely bring one closer to the inner peace that can lead to higher awareness. But most people report that this occurs with not quite the dependability or regularity of meditation. Guided imagery is a form of meditation that is led by another person, either live or on a recording. And so by its very nature, it is not quite as quietly intimate. Ecstatic dance takes you out of your mind completely and has been known to lead to sudden outbursts of awareness or sudden bursts of awareness. But like drumming and chanting, it uses focal centers of the mind that are not nearly as perfectly engaged as the mind is in meditation, when the focus is away from the centers and away from all activity. So meditation has been found by the most number of people, most of the time, to be the most beneficial, constructive, potent, and effective tool for bringing the soul into the mind. Efficacious tool. Whatever you do, find some way to create the space for your mind and your soul to merge, sharing in the wonder of all that you are. The mind is not designed to function alone. Your mind is a marvelous part of you, and nothing that has been said during this entire discourse has been meant to suggest that the mind is somehow less than or inferior to the soul. It is not. Your mind is a brilliant apparatus, and it serves the function of guaranteeing your physical survival in this lifetime extremely well. In fact, unfathomably well. We still don't fully understand all the ways in which the mind works, yet we have observed through simply watching ourselves that the mind functions even more brilliantly when it is open to sources of information that might be called wisdom, that are not generated by memory of their own limited experiences, but by the unlimited awareness that lie outside the mind, not outside the reach of the totality of you. If survival were your only concern, or even your primary concern, your mind might be enough for you to move forward with as you travel through life. Yet, as we have observed earlier, survival is not your primary concern. It is not even your basic instinct. It is, therefore, not at the top of your agenda. Completion is. Completion of the sacred journey. And for this, you need not only the mind, but the soul as well. This is why meditation, the final tool explored here, is so strongly recommended. This is also why this whole book was written. The book very well might have been titled The Soul Also. Its overarching point that the mind and the soul were designed to function together is that important. If you go through life using only or even primarily your body and your mind, it is like riding a tricycle on two of its wheels. It's going to be very hard to keep your balance. End of chapter.
Thank you. Would someone like to start the conversation?
I started waiting for someone else to say yes, because it seems like I'm often the one who's like, yes, me. But nobody did, so here I am. I just want to say, I agree on the importance of meditation, and I don't like that he doesn't discuss active meditation using that term. You know, he talks about how ecstatic dancing isn't as effective as meditation. And it's like, still for me, it's personal because I really love active meditations. And there is specifically a Kundalini dancing meditation that I do that, like, it's in 4 stages. The whole thing is, it's a real meditation, not just me dancing. And I think, and laughing meditation, some of you know I'm big on that one. And it's like, for me, the thing about active meditations is it deals with an issue that he doesn't even discuss in the meditation part, which is the body. The body has a lot of energy, and sometimes that interferes with what we think of as sit down and be quiet meditation, right? The body brings a certain restlessness to the party sometimes that can be countereffective. And active meditation is a great way to channel that restless energy so that you can then move into the quiet. Like the dancing meditation I do, there's half an hour of active stuff, and then the last half hour is resting, and then silence for the last 15 minutes. So it just helps a lot with people sometimes to do something active and then go into the meditation part. And I just wish this chapter had included that information, but maybe it's in his other book where he talks more specifically about meditation. Who knows? That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Mary, I agree to active meditation. I'm also very much into dancing, into moving, and sometimes it's just people can sit down for hours, and so I also can sit down. But first of all, sometimes I need to move, and when I have been moved, when I have done enough movement and my körper is happy with the level of movements, then I can sit down, then I can go for it. But otherwise there is no way out, or even I have to do a lot of activities and then I can sit down. But it's not the recipe. I agree, it's not the recipe. It's not the right thing for everybody. I think meditation can be, people can do meditation, quiet meditation or sit down meditation might be a good piece for a lot of people. But for me, it's a nice piece. But first of all, I have to do something to get my energy, to use my energy, and then to settle down. Yeah. And I don't feel that I have to be aligned with the idea of the book. I think I'm very grateful for, I'm very grateful for bringing up topics, and then I can discuss about it. I don't have to agree to someone or just, it's just nice to talk about. And I'm thankful for bringing up topics. I am never ever aligned with everybody with what they are saying also, but I'm really thankful for just bringing up the topic and to have a discussion about it. That's all.
Having a space to talk about it is magical. I wanted to say, when I first started meditating, and I've done a lot of seated meditation before I discovered I really like the active stuff. The best advice I ever got was exercise and then meditate, because that made it just easier to sit down and be calm. That's all.
I don't know, may I ask some questions? As I understood, it's about that we have to know who we are. And there is in one place in another book that God said, of course, this is the most challenging thing, and maybe you will not achieve this in many lifetimes, maybe never. I don't know. I would like that all people in the world achieve this state, to know who they are. I think that he thinks maybe this never in this lifetime. I don't know. And also God says that he wants that we all return to him. I don't know, this is more questions, if somebody can answer me over.
I have something to say about that. just to sort of like my little bit. Things have been sort of revealing themselves through me, which is because they're surprising me. So I was walking in the woods and something said, you don't need a torch because you're the light. So I thought, oh, isn't that lovely? How lovely. And then I start to sort of wonder about being caught up in this material world and all the extra baggage, and that you can serve that, you can serve it if you want. Like, in fact, the world is serving it. And then there is the sacred, like who you are, and here you are, and then we'll be gone. And it came to me that on another, not just in the woods, another time, that there's only unconditional love, and everything else is a mix-up. And that this just talking in like, I was lighting a little tea candle, you know, tea lights, those little tiny lights, a little candle. And I think I coughed, and I coughed, and the cough was only a little cough, but the cough put the light out. And that's sort of how I feel the sacred light inside of us, the soul, is so sensitive, such a beautiful, amazing, like that voice, that whatever told me, you don't need a torch. It was getting dark, and I'm walking through the woods. And he said, you don't need a torch, you are the light. I thought, oh my, wow, isn't that beautiful? How beautiful to love that essence that we are. Anyway, that's my little bit on it.
Thank you.
I think that's beautiful, Anne, because I think that we go through life with the impression that we need all these different things. And ultimately, as Jesus walked through life, we don't need any of those things. What we need, we will create. What we need will show up. But we don't have that faith. That's the difference. We don't walk that way. He knew. And if we were to be able to embody what he knew, we could really change our experience on this planet, I think. Over.
I can share something.
Go ahead.
Yeah. As I experienced this oneness with everything that light as a child, when I was only 3 years, a little more, that has followed me. And as Linda said, it's coming. I've done a lot of meditation, and it's very important part of my life. But it's not, when I hear other ways of doing it, it's like a mirror, but my own way is stronger. So it takes me into meditation. It's something that is taking care of me. And I also know that whatever I want, whatever is meant to be happening in my life, it's unfolding from that inner connection. So that's why I like to listen to these books. It's because there is always something that connects to that energy in me. I have been outside the normal life in my whole life. And and as I have told before, also this with, I don't know if Donna Walsch is talking about the Kundalini, but for me that is part of the awakening, the energy that is connecting with oneness. So I don't think we can separate. I mean, our minds, our thoughts can separate, but inside we will never be separated. And that has nothing to do with which lifetime or whatever. It doesn't matter, because on one level, we can touch every lifetime on everything. If you go, I saw that when I was a kid, that if we go to the source, we can look into any lifetime, because the source can go into, from that point of view, and we are that. We are this unconditional oneness, basically. And meditation is a way to take us to that point. That was my reflections. Over. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so interesting. I forgot what I was going to add. Oh, I know what I was going to add. When I was in South Africa, I had been blessed with the opportunity to go twice. And while we were staying at this place that was right in the center of animals walking everywhere, and there were high fences with barbed wire around this place. And anyway, at least 2 times, if not 3 times while we were there, they brought indigenous people in who would do this dancing. And it's a dirt floor, it's outside. And they are so into what they are doing that you can't help but think they're present, but I don't think they're present like they're not looking around to see what everybody's thinking present. It's kind of one of those things that's hard to describe, but you could even feel the earth moving. I mean, the vibrations from them hitting their feet on the dirt. And of course they use drums, and it's all very rhythmic. And I actually, well, that was just very moving. But at a different time when we were going out for souvenirs, these 3 young indigenous boys, I want to guess like they were 12 or so, asked me if they could sing for me. And I knew they wanted some money for that, but they sang to me a song that was in a language I did not understand, but it sent chills up my spine because whatever they were singing sounded very peaceful, very connected. And sometimes when I get stressed out, I'll say, "Sing to me, South Africa, sing to me," because it was so powerful. So that's my, we've got a Kirsty person that's in the waiting room. We'll see. Welcome, Kirsty. I don't know if she can hear us yet. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you. Hi, Kirsty.
Hi.
It's nice to have you here. We actually started almost an hour ago. About yeah. But the time change, I think, is throwing people off. So you probably won't be the only one that shows up at this time. But since it is almost the top of the hour, Mary, would you like to close us out? And thank you, Linda, for your reading as usual.
Yes. So thank you to the oneness of it all that brings us here together to these Sunday reading groups and gives us this beautiful opportunity to share in these kinds of conversations with other people who delight in these kinds of conversations. Because this is a very special gift, as we all know. Sometimes you take this out into the broader world and people give you funny looks and stuff. But here we all appreciate discussing things like bringing the soul connection to the mind and the body here in our life on planet Earth, and joining up with people to talk about that. And as we go through our week, this week, we can just think about or activate the ways of bringing our soul more consciously into our daily life. Because isn't that really what it's all about? And I look at someone like Bima, and she's had this gift from, very young childhood of understanding that connection in life. And we all have our own experience of it. And it's just beautiful to be able to share that in a group with people for whom this is all like part of, like, the point of life, really. This is what it's about. So what a gift. Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'll just repeat it in case somebody was a little late. We are going to start reading What God Said, not next week. But I'm going to guess, what do you think, Linda? Oh, Linda's gone.
Linda's gone.
Oh, she's gone.
What do you think, Mary? 3 weeks, maybe?
Yeah. Something like that.
Okay. So we'll keep bringing it up. Everybody will be made aware.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again next week.
Okay.
Love you all.
Love you all.
All right. Thank you.
Good week.
All right.
Hope you find an apartment and that.
Yep, me too. And thank you, Romy, for your
Thank
message.
you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.